Beginning a conversation about Hello Games' No Man's Sky can feel as daunting as its 18 quintillion planet galaxy is imposing, and I've had real trouble deciding where to start this video. Do I start by examining that massive galaxy? Or do I describe its slogging, endlessly grindy gameplay? Or do I begin, perhaps, detailing No Man's Sky's once skyrocketing fame that eventually evolved into infamy? The angles here are almost as numerous as the stars themselves, and yet they are all equally as important. From the time No Man's Sky was first revealed during Spike's VGX Awards in 2013 to headlining E3, it gained historical levels of hype and anticipation that we've rarely seen for AAA titles, let alone relatively tiny indie studios like Hello Games. After years of escalating excitement, it launched August 9th, 2016 to mediocre reviews and disappointed fans, lacking both large and negligible features consumers thought awaited them. A famous example being that players could supposedly meet one another in the galaxy, but that occurrence would be exceedingly rare due to the galaxy's size. This turned out to be false, if not at least misunderstood and never clarified. The day the game launched, two players found themselves on the same planet but were unable to see one another. Hello Games has continually updated No Man's Sky since launch, its former hype driving and sustaining curiosity. Its most recent update, titled Next, is the biggest yet, adding and changing a number of features and yet again driving press and public interest. It's with this in mind I think we begin our discussion about No Man's Sky's current state, that being the next update with a simple overarching statement. No Man's Sky is just okay. How No Man's Sky was perceived to be, fairly or not, will probably never be. And once we've wiped away the romantic or infamous perceptions we may have of No Man's Sky, we can look at and examine what it actually is. Apart from its incomprehensible size and seamlessness, Hello Games' astronomically ambitious space explorer fails to excel anywhere else and isn't particularly innovative. Problems are numerous. Bugs, including some that are game-breaking, continue to appear despite the game being out for more than 2 years. Quests are dull, repetitive, and uninspired. After a while, No Man's Sky's giant galaxy, interesting lore, and seamless transition between planets and space become largely superficial. A stellar setting for an experience you're probably familiar with. No Man's Sky offers up its galaxy in 4 modes, each of which provide the same gameplay, but through a different lens. Normal, the basic game, Survival, which is a more difficult version of normal, Permadeath, which wipes your save if your character dies, and Creative Mode, which gives you unlimited health and resources to build and explore with. In every mode, you start on a random planet in a random star system and must find resources to repair your ship. Once you've fully repaired your ship, the galaxy is yours to do what you want with. You can play each mode with friends, and with the exception of Creative Mode, all include the 3 main single-player quest lines: the Atlas Path, the Space Anomaly, and the First Traveler. After the opening tutorial, opting out of the single-player altogether and exploring the galaxy is an option as well. If you do decide to follow the main quest lines, you'll find that 2 of them, the First Traveler and the Space Anomaly, seem to be built with multiplayer in mind. Objectives spawn in or around the star system you're currently at, so staying in one star system while following these quest lines mean you can stay in the same place of the galaxy, at least for the most part. There are a few quests that'll transport you to other parts of the galaxy. Luckily enough, space stations have teleporters that'll take you back to a base you've created or other space stations you've visited. The third quest line, the Atlas Path, actively takes you through the galaxy, making it impractical to play with friends, though not necessarily impossible. Overall, staying together with friends in one small part of the galaxy is actually pretty simple, and coupled with multiple save slots, a very appreciated feature, allowing you to have a central base or home star where you and all your friends can play together and separately without the fear of having to travel large distances. No Man's Sky's galaxy is quite fascinating to watch and learn and experiment with. Planets are varied and lush, some packed full of life and others void of it. It won't take you long to see all the environments No Man's Sky has to offer, but I've actually enjoyed seeing the galaxy's different zany alien creations and odd alien worlds. That, however, is pretty much where No Man's Sky's charm ends. Visuals bounce between decent and bad. Landscapes are both beautiful and ugly, sometimes at the same time. Textures have a glossy, plastic toy-like aesthetic to them that isn't great to look at. The novelty of No Man's Sky's scale and procedurally generated planets and animals fades away, as a cyclical grind sets in that does little to feel original, different, or more rewarding than any other grind-festy video game out there. Everything you do requires you do 2 other things, breaking any graceful flow or pace. You're constantly given something to search for or collect, and your limited storage means you'll be managing not just the resources you need, but how and where to carry those resources. Launching your ship off of a planet takes fuel, which you'll need to mine and craft. Flying across a solar system also takes fuel, which you'll need to mine. Flying from star to star takes warp cells, which you'll need to mine for and craft. And while you're mining, crafting, or making repairs, you'll need to mine resources to recharge the equipment you mine with. Dealing with sentinels, planetary guards that'll attack you if you harvest too much stuff, isn't fun either. No Man's Sky's combat isn't great, and the sentinels react to you in weird ways. It gets extremely exasperating waiting for sentinels to fly away before you can continue mining. It's an unrelenting, omnipresent, disruptive cycle that stops you from casually enjoying yourself, constantly forcing you to carry out tedious, tiny chores. While traversing the galaxy, you'll bring along your exosuit, starship, multi-tool, and, if you're able to collect the money to purchase one or find one for free, a freighter. They each function in similar fashions. The exosuit, starship, and freighter have slots to store material and to install upgrades, improving the efficiency of fuel, increasing speed and damage, and so on. Freighters come with frigates that you can build a little fleet with and send out on missions. On the surface, customization here is rather deep, but No Man's Sky fails to really capitalize on any of it. Most upgrades exist just to make the grind a little less grindy. The existence of a grind in No Man's Sky is not the issue, but the insistence on making that grind the central avenue of gameplay and progression, upending any graceful pace, is an issue. While I was playing, I couldn't help but think about comparisons to Elite Dangerous, one of my favorite games ever, but also a game marred by some of the same issues that plague No Man's Sky. It's another insanely grindy space MMO inside of a massive procedurally generated galaxy. Browse some reviews for Elite and you'll see many complaints that there isn't a lot to do, or that there isn't a good enough incentive to grind for, no end goal, and there's certainly some truth in that. But what Elite does do is offer its gameplay at different paces via multiple deep gameplay avenues. You can fly to a random ringed planet and spend a few relaxed hours mining, or you can fly to a chaotic combat zone and engage in an endless dogfight with dozens of other ships. To explore in Elite, all you've got to do is make sure your ship has fuel and you pick a direction. Each of those activities take different types of ships and play almost like completely different games. No Man's Sky doesn't have that same versatility because its gameplay doesn't get much deeper than collecting resources. Secondary missions are simplistic and boring. Go collect 500 of these, or go kill this pirate. They don't provide a break from the grind. Neither the ground nor space combat is mechanically precise or enjoyable. The flight controls specifically are arcadey and bland. In fact, the strategy I found most useful when dogfighting is to stop my ship altogether and rotate it with enemies. I don't even have to fly. It's as a vanilla dogfighting system as they come, and frustrating considering all the different ships and ways you can customize them. As much as I enjoy exploration, No Man's Sky's grind constantly interrupts it. There's a tedious chore for every action you take. Landing on a planet means you'll need fuel to take off. Searching for and mining the resources you need to craft that fuel means you'll have to keep your life support systems charged with additional materials you need to search for and mine. Meanwhile, if a planet you land on has some form of environmental hazard, whether it be toxicity or extreme temperatures, you'll need to keep your environmental hazard systems charged by finding even more elements. These systems, of course, can all be upgraded and improved, but the neediness never subsides. I'll always have something to look for. I know I can explore the galaxy in creative mode too, but that completely limits the gameplay. There's no happy medium. I'm either constantly tasked with mining and hoarding stuff, or tasked with absolutely nothing. I've recently just had the chance to begin Breath of the Wild, and I think there's a comparison here as well. No Man's Sky and Breath of the Wild are completely different games, but they're similar in that they give players tons of little chores. Breath of the Wild forces you to maintain storage and find new weapons and shields when old ones break. You're constantly on the lookout for resources to use on your journey. But Breath of the Wild also gives you different paces, time to breathe. You'll spend an hour in a puzzle, and then another hour climbing a mountain, and then even another hour fighting monsters. Completely different paces that almost make you forget how often you're scrolling through menus or cooking. No Man's Sky doesn't have that. The grind is the game, not just part of it. This becomes especially frustrating during the single player, as a story that does have some intrigue is continuously and annoyingly interrupted by glorified tutorials disguised as missions. Hours into the main questline and the actual story will pause so you can build a base and hire someone to work in it. Building a base means building items like walls and rooms that take resources, and those resources take time and other resources to find and mine and store. It all becomes very lethargic and overgrown and artificially lengthened. The single player itself is nebulous and lacks any real emotion. You'll often be tasked with talking to a random NPC who you'll never see again, or main characters that really don't have personalities. The story becomes hard to keep track of because you're forced into other activities that take time to complete. Deviate at all from the story, and a lot of what happens is easy to forget, especially when, inexplicably, No Man's Sky uses arbitrary timers in between numerous quests that force you to wait until you can progress. At one point during the first Traveler quest line, I had to build an item called a Mind Arc to complete a quest. In order to do that, I needed my base's scientist to tell me how to build one. Problem is, there was a timer stopping me from talking to my scientist. It's a free-to-play mobile mechanic ham-handedly shoved into single-player quests, and it's hard to tell why they're there at all. Maybe Hello Games didn't want players rushing through quests or giving resources to one another in order to power them through the quests. Regardless, these timers killed any interest I had in the single player. And it's here where I need to come clean about something. I didn't beat the single player. After hours of trudging through poorly constructed missions and menial tasks, the next step of a quest was to reach the center of the galaxy, which at the time was about 70,000 light years away from my position. As much as I hate doing this, I can't speak to how the single player unfolds and ends up because I won't be beating it. I don't feel No Man's Sky has respected my time, and it doesn't deserve me spending 20 if not more hours putting in the effort to get to the center. Moving on. I understand No Man's Sky is a survival game, and maybe it's a style I'm personally just not a fan of, but I don't feel like I'm surviving. All this mining and recharging and storage management facilitate a sense of urgency No Man's Sky doesn't need, all standing opposed to the chill space explorer it claims to be. No Man's Sky's galaxy is mind-blowing, it's massive and colorful. Seamlessly flying between planet and space is great, hugely satisfying, but solar systems in No Man's Sky, and really space in general, don't feel like space. Stars aren't actually there, they're only skyboxes, and planets are grouped together. Asteroids used to mine for fuel are everywhere and jarring to watch when you're flying at high speeds. Undoubtedly, this is an appropriate structure. Not all planets have the resources you need, so you'll constantly be flying between planets. Without stopping, travel between planets is usually kept to around a minute. If solar systems were made realistic, you'd spend much more time in space, so I understand and do appreciate how solar systems are organized. The galaxy as a whole, however, lacks a sense of location and presence. Zoom around the galaxy map and you'll see it all looks the same. Besides the center and black holes, which transport you closer to the center, there aren't any destinations or landmarks. A diagram at the top left of the galaxy map shows your relative position in the galaxy, but take it away and the entire galaxy feels like the same place. The only identifying features being the glow at the center and the vibrant colors illuminating space. And if you're wondering what happens at the center, quick spoiler warning, you restart in another galaxy. It's an endless loop, though I haven't personally experienced this. As of writing, players have reached 257 galaxies, and as far as I can tell, nothing except the color at the center is different about any of them. Compare all this to Elite Dangerous's galaxy, which is modeled after the Milky Way. Destinations like nebulas, distant space stations, and other famous spots make the galaxy feel alive and real, and the skybox changes relative to your position. While No Man's Sky's planets are varied, there's nothing distinct about the space and galaxy around them. Take away No Man's Sky's scale, and what you'd have is a mediocre, if competent, crafting game. There isn't a single other element that makes it stand out. That's not to say that scale and seamlessness isn't impressive, it certainly is, but past that, this galaxy's staying power becomes incredibly weak. No Man's Sky's status as a game is difficult to separate from its status as a controversy. Discussing what happened with No Man's Sky pre-release, who's to blame, the dangers of hype culture, and the importance of reviews are all significant topics that'll be inextricably connected to No Man's Sky, but not specifically connected to its worth as a video game. Because No Man's Sky's worth as a video game is, from an objective critical standpoint, very little. Whatever your or my preconceptions of No Man's Sky was before it released, what it is pretty simple. It's just okay and could be a whole lot better.